The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hello, everyone. This is Rob Deininger with Comfortably Zoned Radio, and I'm here with Jack Degraw, and we are talking Yankees baseball. How you doing, Jack?
Good. How are you today, Robert?
Not too bad. Spring training started Sunday. We're on our first week, and you went to the game on Sunday, right?
Yeah, I went to the game Sunday and Monday. There's 7 innings affairs. It's just nice to be in a ballpark. You know, that's a great thing. But, I mean, there's really not a lot of buzz around it because they're letting people in, Robert, but if they have 1,500 people there, it's a lot. But, I mean, it's still nice to be at it's still nice to be at the ballpark.
I can imagine. I mean, last year watching the games during the regular season with no one in the stadium, I mean, they tried pumping in noise, but it felt weird watching a game with no fans. So just having a few makes a little bit of difference, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if you can't go to a game, you don't really feel, a part of it. And like me, I lose a lot of interest if I can't at least, go to a game and watch them practice or something. Yeah.
And being up here in New Jersey, I rely on the TV or the radio, and they only showed the Yankee games Sunday and Monday. And the Tuesday game, Wednesday game, and today's game's not on TV. And it drives me crazy as a fan because the Yankees have their own network, and they barely play any of their spring training games. I don't get it, and it drives me up a wall.
Yeah, I can't figure out, Robert, why teams don't at least put a camera behind home plate and in center field and just show the games. Even if you don't have announcers, just show the games because people want to watch that.
Yeah, I mean, even if they put a little, the rerun of a Nets game, put a little, small picture of the Yankee game going on or something. I mean, I'd rather watch that than a rerun of a Nets game. I mean, it just drives me crazy as a fan because, you don't get to see who's playing, who the young kid is, who's standing out in spring. You got to rely on articles and box scores, and that only tells you a half of what's going on.
Yeah, I know. Even being down here, Robert, I mean, you can't go to any of the practices. You can't go over the minor league complex. You can't go on the side field. I mean, you can just go to the games, and they don't even have rosters. So, I mean, I'm watching a game, and they bring these guys in. It's like, well, who are they?
Yeah.
I don't even know who's playing. And I know they brought back Nick Goody, a pitcher, and they brought back Adam Warren. But, most of these guys, I have no idea even who they are.
Yeah. And the one guy they got in the deal with Pittsburgh, I still can't figure out his last name, Talon or Talion or whatever his name is.
He pitched a couple innings the other day, and he looked good.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah, he pitched Monday against the Taggers, and, he threw a couple of good innings. So he looked good. Garrett Cole pitched an inning. He got, hit around a little bit. Not too bad. He walked some guys, no control issues, and he gave up a couple of hard-hit singles. But, they just want to get their work in at this point.
Yeah, and, I know Jordan Montgomery also pitched this week. I wanted to see him, and I couldn't. I know he gave up a few walks and, beginning of spring. And also Corey Kluber pitched yesterday, which I would have loved to see. I understand he pitched 2 perfect innings, struck out 3, and looked real good. So that's a good sign. That's the first time. I think that's the most batters he's faced in 2 years. So that's a big step for him. You like to see what you got in some of these new guys, and when you can't watch it, it is frustrating.
Well, Robert, when they showed the game on Sunday and Monday, did they have announcers down here?
They had Michael Kay, David Cohn from their homes, calling the game, and I think Meredith was at the stadium in a booth, so they had her there. but Michael Kay and David Cohn both were calling the game from their house. So I don't know if it's, scheduling issues with the announcers, but I mean, this is the same. But even last year and the year before, they barely showed any spring training games, and I don't understand, given it's the Yes Network, the Yankees entertainment station. I don't get it, because I enjoy the spring training games.
Well, didn't they used to, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, they used to show like over 20 games, and then MLB would show like spring training games. Yeah,
and Yankees also would have a segment on spring training about, young kids trying to make the roster or what rookie to watch out for. They'd have specials, and you don't even have much of that on anymore, and I don't understand why.
Well, another thing down here, Robert, the spring training games are now 7 innings.
Yeah, that's I'll never get used to that.
And I think that the managers have the option; they can say 5 or 6 innings.
Wow, that's short.
And another thing, I mean, if anybody considers coming down, they should. They're selling tickets, Robert, like in 2s and 4s. Now, I got some standing room tickets for $20, so I can't complain. But say me and you wanted to go to a game and say that the tickets are $75, we have to buy all 4 tickets. We can't buy 1 or 2. And I mean, it's out of hand. I mean, I got on Ticketmaster website and they were selling tickets $110 a piece, and you had to buy 4 of them.
Wow. Yeah, they're really trying to squeeze as much money as they can out of it. Wow.
And I seen like even though they're letting fans in for the regular season, I mean, the prices are out of hand. So I don't know.
Yeah, on Sports Talk Radio up here the other day, they were talking about the Mets, how the season ticket holders have their tickets, but even if you purchased a ticket for a game during the season, the team won't honor it if the game gets called off, meaning you're not getting your money back or another ticket for another game. So you're basically taking a chance, buying a ticket, hoping you'll be able to go. I mean, I guess they're just trying to make money, given the pandemic.
Well, yeah, well, it's like the owners don't care about the fans, and as long as the fans will put up with this crap, it'll never stop.
Yeah.
If people put up with bullshit, it'll never stop. They'll just keep doing it and doing it. And then you have the added thing, they might go on strike next year.
Yeah. and it's, the players and the owners, they like to disagree. I mean, they really do. And, I mean, that was one of the problems. I know Major League Baseball the last several years has been trying to push Mike Trout as the face of baseball, but he doesn't want anything to do with it. He wants to play baseball, and that's it. And baseball, they've been having a problem with finding someone who can be the face of baseball and take on that role and promote it. But players don't want to do that. They want to get paid and play the game, and that's it.
Yeah, well, the owners got to take some, responsibility too. And when they market the game, you say Aaron Judd in the New York Yankees or Mike Trout in the Anaheim Angels are going to be on MLB tonight. So they have to try to pump up some enthusiasm. But the thing is, as long as they keep getting paid, they don't care. And I mean, you're going to lose the older generation. We're not going to be around much longer anyway. But it seems like these younger fans, they don't really they don't care. They just want to see some quick home run entertainment, and they don't care if they play 6 innings, 7 innings, or it's a shame to see what's happening.
Yeah, and I'll get into some arguments with these, the younger generation about certain players, and they break out all these advanced analytics and this and that, and it's like, it drives me crazy because, I mean, numbers don't tell you the whole story. I mean, they just don't, and, it drives me crazy. And I think analytics right now is giving baseball slow death. I mean, I don't know. I'm an older guy, and I just hate the fact that we'll never see another Ricky Henderson or Nolan Ryan or those type of players again with the way the sport is.
Well, I think because a lot of the fans, they play rotisserie baseball.
Yeah.
So they don't care if the Yankees win or lose. What they care about is Aaron Judge goes 3 for 4.
Yeah.
You know that's what they're concerned about. And I mean another thing down here in spring training, you don't have any rosters. It's like you don't even know who's on the team. And from what I understand, I mean, now the Tampa Tarpons down here, they're starting May 4th. So I assume most of the minor leagues are starting in May. Now what they're doing down here is they're playing 6-game series. They're going to play 120 games. 1 week they'll be home, next week they'll be away, and they're going to alternate that way. But I mean, if the minor leaguers aren't coming in, who knows if they're even in camp? But they might not start camp till like April 1st or something. So I mean, I don't know. Like, why are you only playing 7 innings?
Yeah.
I think you want to get these guys some work. I mean,
yeah, because like a player like Miguel Andujar, I mean, he's not going to be on the opening day roster, and I'd like to see him get as many at bats as he can because he's the kind of guy that needs to see live at bats. He's that type of hitter that he needs to see constant at bats to get going, and that can hurt a player like him.
Yeah, and I think that's an example. One of the players, when they have, when the agreement ceases on December 21st, and the owners and the players are going to go at it, this is one of the things that they're going to talk about. I mean, you've got a guy like Andujar who's just like, there's no position for him. The Yankees don't really want him. They don't like his fielding, and he's like in limbo. I mean, you're going to have the prime years of your career when you should be in the major leagues making money and helping some team win. He's going to go back to AAA, and there's nothing to prove there. So
yeah, I mean, he just turned 26 years old. He was in 2018. He was a runner-up for Rookie of the Year, and the only right-handed hitter who had a better rookie season than Miguel Andujar was Joe DiMaggio. I mean, the guy was an extra base. He was a hitting machine when it came to extra bases. I mean, either it was a home run or a double, but the guy was he's a line drive hitter, and and he's someone that needs those at bats. You can't play someone like him here and there because he needs to have those at bats every day to stay in the group. Yeah,
I mean, he's going to go back to AAA. He'll be playing in Somerset. So it's like the Yankees don't like his fielding, which is fine, but trade the guy.
Yeah, and like I'm also a Clint Frazier fan, and I know they, Boone announced him as the starting left fielder, but I'm worried, given analytics, that if he gets off to a slow start to start the season, that next thing you know, Gardner starts creeping into the lineup and they start platooning Frazier. I'd like to just see. Hopefully they just let him play, even if he does struggle here and there, and let the kid play every day, see what you got in him. But that was one of the reasons I didn't want to see them re-sign Brett Gardner, because I know he's the favorite of the Yankees and Boone. And, if a young kid's struggling, I could see Frazier being sat on the bench again this year.
Well, my hope is he gets at least 500 bats, Frazier. And, like you say, re-signing Gardner, like Judge and those guys, Hicks, some point they'll get hurt, so there's a chance you might see Brett Gardner in the lineup for 120, 130 games. And, I thought that ship had sailed, but it hasn't.
They also have Mike Tauchman, who, is great, is really, really good defensively. He's shown he could do a little something with the baseball bat. And they also just signed, they have Jay Bruce on the roster right now. So he's another outfielder that with a lot of major league experience. So, I mean, they got the depth. And you're right. I mean, at some point, Judge and Stanton's going to get hurt. That's just, it just happened. Same with Hicks. I mean, Hicks hasn't played a full season yet in his career. So, I mean, Gardner will see at bats, but I just hope, that Frazier gets at least 500 at bats, because I think he can hit 270, hit you around 30 homers, and drive you in over 80 runs if you give him a full season.
Yeah, I think he can at least do that. The good thing in the off season, Robert, I think Judge and like Stanton, and I know Gary Sanchez, he lives down here in Tampa now, they've been working more on flexibility. I know Judge has been doing yoga. So, hopefully, the muscle pulls will be a thing of the past. Yeah,
because, I think Stanton's only had one season where he played a full year, and Judge hasn't played a full season, I don't think, in his career. And Aaron Hicks averages, I think, 100 games a year. So hopefully the two big guys can stay healthy for the majority of the season. It'd be nice to see what they can do in the lineup together. Yeah, and
it used to be years ago there was very few really big baseball players. And those guys they were power hitters. And, in the outfield they'd be lumbering around. But I think guys like Judge and Stanton are so athletic that, they can dive around. Like Judge especially can dive in the outfield and, crashing in the walls and stuff. So, he has to be extra careful because he's an athlete. He's just not out there. He's not a statue.
That's like the first spring training game Sunday. There was a ball hit in the first inning to right center, and Judge was running in on it, and I'm thinking, don't dive, please don't dive. And he did it, and the ball bounced in front of him, but there was that moment where it's just a spring training game, please don't dive for the ball, and he didn't. And I was like, oh, thank God. But, I get worried when you see a guy that big, because you're right, Judge, he goes all out when he plays, and he'll dive and crash into the wall, and, you love a guy like that, but, that size, you do tend to get hurt.
Yeah, I just walked in at that point, and it's like, here it is, you see, been here 2 minutes, and like, the big star player gets hurt in the spring training game.
Yeah. And going back to the analytics, I had someone tell me that, Aaron Hicks was a top 5 center fielder in Major League Baseball, and I just don't know what they're seeing. The guy, like his Sunday, he had a couple walks, same thing, and then the next day he drew a couple walks. He does a great job of drawing walks against bad pitching, but the guy's a career 235 hitter, and I don't care how many walks he racks up during the regular season against, shitty pitching. Come postseason, when you face a better pitching, you got to be able to swing the bat, and that's what my concern is can they hit come postseason? Because they've shown what they can do during the regular season. It's been the postseason where they've had the struggles hitting.
Yeah, and it's been going on. We keep saying it's been going on for 20 years. They get in the postseason, face the better pitching, and they don't get. It's a strikeout fest. And all those analytics, not all, I shouldn't say all of them, but a good portion of them, they're good for the rotisserie leagues. I mean, walks are good if you're in a rotisserie league.
Yeah.
But does it really help you win games? You want your number 3 hitter to be able to drive in runs.
Yeah.
Now, if he's batting second or he's batting 7th or 8th, okay, the walks are all right. But, when you're in the middle of the lineup, they want you to swing bat. And
they plan on having Aaron Hicks batting 3rd in their lineup again this year. And, I get it. He draws walks. You got LeMahieu and Judge 1 and 2, and you got heavy hitters behind him. It makes sense during the regular season over a long course of the season. But come postseason, when you got your number 3 hitter who can't hit, and, it just hurts you come postseason time.
Yeah, well, anybody has to do is look at the stats for the last X amount of years, and you see the Yankees strike out an awful lot in the postseason, and they don't get that big 2-out clutch hit.
No, and I'm used to growing up watching. Well, I got spoiled in the '90s there for a while. That team in the '90s, they grinded out at bats. They were a hard team to get out, 1 through 9.
Well, they could all hit. They would all go the opposite field. Not all, but most of them. Bernie and Paul O'Neill and, Knobloch and Tino and, Posada, Jeter, they would get big hits. I mean, Jeter didn't always hit the ball hard, but, you get the bases loaded, he'd find a way to get a run in.
Yeah, and he was great going the opposite field, too. I mean, he'd punch that ball the other way, and, you don't see a lot of that today. It's like one of the things that drives me crazy with Gary Sanchez is it seems when he's at the plate, he doesn't have a plan of attack. And, like, guys like, you remember, like, Mattingly and Boggs, they knew where they were looking for a pitch over the plate, whether it was outside or inside. They had a plan of attack. They knew where they wanted to attack the zone. And it just seems like when Gary goes to the plate, he has no idea where he's looking. He's just trying to react to what's being thrown to him instead of looking for a pitch to drive. And it's led to the past couple of years of him struggling at the plate, in my opinion. And I just like to see him go up there with more of a plan of attack where he'd like to hit the ball. And it just seems like he's up there reacting, and they're getting him out with a lot of high fastballs the last couple of years.
Yeah, see, I remember when Sanchez first came up, and even down here in the minor leagues, one of the reasons the Yankees were so high on him is not only, he had power and he was a catcher, but he could hit. He would do other things. He would, go to the opposite field once in a while or shorten his swing. And what happens, a lot of these guys fall in love with the home run, and then they just swing from the heels all the time. And, that's what keeps him in the big leagues, hitting the home runs. But, it doesn't always win you, the crucial games.
Yeah, it's like Gleyber Torres. When he just tries to swing through the zone and drive the ball, he's really good. But he tends to get in a little home run happy every now and then, and he gets in those funks where he's trying to hit home runs and it causes him to struggle at the plate. But when he swings through the zone, just looks to try to drive the ball up the middle in the opposite way, he can hit. And I hope to see that approach this year from him and from Gary too, because you're right. When Gary first came up, he was hitting home runs the other way, driving the ball the other way to center, and now it just seems like he's up there looking to try to smash one, and they're just throwing high heat at him.
It's funny, Robert. When I seen Gleyber down here, like in Double-A with Tampa, and in the minor league games, over the Himes, the exhibition games, he was a different hitter. He didn't hit as many home runs. He wasn't as strong. And I remember the scouts saying as he gets bigger and stronger, he'll hit more home runs. And then it's like they become different hitters when they get to the big leagues. They get bigger and stronger, and they get home run happy.
Yeah. I'm trying to pull up Gary Sanchez. I know his first 2 years, he had a 284 batting average. And then his last 2 years plus the 60 games last year, he's dropped it down. His average is 200. So hopefully he can get back into a groove at the plate, because if he's hitting, then this lineup is scary to watch. Yeah.
Well, let me just say, Robert, I'm glad they did give him another chance. Because, even with his struggles, he's still going to give you 30 homers and 80-some RBIs.
Yeah.
And, offensively in the major leagues, I don't know if there's any other catchers that can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there is.
And another thing, defensively, when he's got one leg on the ground, you don't have mobility that way. Then you have to backhand the ball. I'd rather see him have the conventional catcher stance instead of having the one leg out, because you don't have mobility. You can't really do much there. You're like locked in. Then you have to reach and grab, and I don't know. I think he's got too many, voices in his head. Everybody's trying to tell him something different.
Oh, absolutely. Well, what's going to be telling, too, is to see how long he catches for Garrett Cole, because last season Cole went to Higgy behind the plate, and his ERA was much better with Higashioka. I think it was like, what was it? It was around just over 2.0, and with Gary it was over 4. So it'd be interesting to see how long Gary and Cole, pitch to, he catches for Garrett Cole before, because if they go to Higgy, then, things things might go downward for Gary.
Yeah, I know Monday, not that this means anything, Monday's game against the Tigers, Cole started and Higashioda was catching. And Gary's DH, and he hit a bomb over the screen in center field.
Yeah, that was a bomb. I mean, hitting that over the catcher's eye out in center field, I mean, that's a 40-foot black tarp they have out there, and he hit it over that. That was impressive.
Yeah, it's like one of those homers that as soon as he hit it, boom, it's gone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, because I was watching it on the TV, and it was a 92-mile-an-hour fastball right up in the zone, and it was screaming to be hit, and Gary launched it. That ball went out yelling. Yeah, so the Yankees play the Phillies today, the Tigers tomorrow, and then the Pirates, Phillies, and then they got a day off. But they're basically playing every day this spring so far.
Yeah, I got a ticket for the Philly game Sunday. I know I'm considering, going tomorrow and stuff because the weather down here is it's fabulous today. It's like low 70s, sunny, and don't hate me up there, Robert, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I live right on the ocean or on the bay, which is basically right behind a strip of land, which is the Atlantic Ocean out there, and the wind blowing off of it, it could be brutal around this time of year. Yeah,
I'm glad I got out of that.
Yeah. I know Domingo Herman is supposed to pitch. Do you know if he's pitching tomorrow or over the weekend?
I'm not really sure. We talked off air. I mean, it might be good, I don't know if I mentioned it before, to start some of these guys, later in the year, because how many innings, can they pitch? Because they didn't pitch last year.
Yeah.
And even the guys who pitched last year, what did they throw? 50, 60 innings? I mean, you're going to be able to throw 175 innings this year? I mean, that's another thing to consider too.
Yeah, and I know Boone mentioned that he's thinking about a 6-man rotation, at least to start the season. He's not worried about Garrett Cole, but he said the other guys, he liked to, protect them from themselves, especially like the new guys, Kluber and Talion, and some of the younger arms, and he's mentioned Davy Garcia a lot. So I think there's a good chance if he doesn't have a really bad spring, that he's on the roster to start the season.
Yeah, I mean, it might be better, like I know Schmidt's hurt now. I don't think it's anything, too bad. He should be back in three weeks or so. But it might be better to not even bring these guys up till June or July, because if you start Garcia in this, not opening day, if he's on the opening day roster, they might burn out by June or July. And like you mentioned offhand, Herman was a great couple of years ago, the first half. In the second half, he fizzled out. Yeah,
and I know he pitched in the Dominican League this winter, but I don't know how many games he started or how many games he pitched. I do know I saw a couple of highlights of him in pitching, and he looked good. So, I mean, I'm anxious to see what he looks like this spring. But if you can get him pitching like he did, the year he won 18 games, you got a good pitcher. But, he did, like we were talking off air, the second half of the season, being a young guy, he started to struggle a little bit in that second half, getting tired.
Yeah, and missing last year, it hurt a lot of, it hurt everybody. But I think the pitchers really hurt because, they need their routine.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, I've been a big fan of Jordan Montgomery since he first came on the scene, and I'd like to see him take that next step this year. He's got like 5-6 pitches, and he always seems to have that one inning in a game where he struggles, where he gives up a couple walks, and next a couple hits and a couple runs are scored. I'd like to see if he can at least win 14, 15 games this year. I'd like to see him take that step.
Well, he's capable of doing it. I mean, I think the Yankees would just be happy if he reached, double figures. But he's got the stuff to, win 14, 15 games.
Yeah, because not only is he left-handed, but he has that overhand delivery, which makes it hard for hitters to pick up the ball right away, out of his hand. And he can be really effective. And it's usually he always has that one bad inning, or it's usually the third or fourth inning where he gets in trouble with walks. But I like to see him. I'm anxious to see how he does this year, because as of right now, I think he's the third or fourth man in the rotation, probably the fourth man in the rotation.
Yeah, well, we got to remember, he hasn't really pitched too much. He had the Tommy John surgery, and last year, I don't know how many innings did he throw last year. Did he hit 50 innings last year, Robert? Offhand, would you know?
I don't know. I think he might have. Let me pull up his stats. I know we're not going to see Severino until late in the season. They said he might be available, but I wonder what you're going to really get out of Severino when he comes back.
Well, I heard Severino was going to throw. He was throwing off the mound this week.
Okay. Let me pull up Jordan Montgomery's stats. What? My computer's giving me a little problem here.
No, let me tell you. Go ahead, Robert. Sorry.
No, they keep saying, the fifth spot in the rotation is up for grabs this spring, but I really think, unless Domingo Herman has an awful spring training, I think he has that fifth spot locked up. Even though I know the Yankees are high on Deivi Garcia, I still think Herman right now has that locked up.
Yeah, I think Garcia, later in the season, we'll see more of him. I think Herman, they want to see right away what they got.
Yeah. My computer's doesn't want to.
Yeah, I don't have any access to, a computer right now. But, I wish I could give more details, Robert, but going down to spring training, it's not, you can't get in anywhere. So it's hard to gauge anything because, you don't have access to anything.
Yeah, 2020, he pitched actually just under 50 innings. He had 44 innings last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the last 2 years, he's probably, he's only thrown maybe 50 innings, 60 innings. So, I mean, he's got to build the arm up this season. So it's, it's still a question mark going into this year.
Yeah, because in 2017, he started 29 games, went 9-7. So he pitched over 155 innings that year. And then he pitched 27 innings in 2018 before he got hurt. Or did he get hurt in 2019? Because he only pitched 4 innings in 2019. Yeah, I think, 2019, he only pitched 4 innings before he got hurt.
Yeah, I think the bullpen will be solid.
Yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned it, but they got Adam Warren. They're going to give him a shot, and Nick Goody's coming. Trying to come back with the Yankees. So.
Where did he play before?
I believe he was in Cleveland. What I remember about Nick Goody, he'd come in and he'd strike out a couple guys and give up a solo homer. And that's what he did the other day. So.
Yeah, and Urshela, like I said, he's making his spring debut this year. He had off-season elbow surgery. And I think that was just to clean up some spurs in his elbow or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything serious, and it'll be interesting, Robert, because they're only going to play like 28 spring training games, and another thing, I don't think they can play inter-squad games. So even though the minor leaguers are coming back, and the major leaguers are down here, they used to send them over to Himes, and they could play in the minor league games.
Yeah.
So they're not going to get at bats because they used to go over to Himes, a minor league game, and they could bat like every inning for 5 or 6 innings. So, I mean, the pitcher's not going to get all their work in, and the hitters aren't really going to get their work in. So it's going to be interesting to see what what happens. I like the players. They should have started spring training 3 weeks later instead of rushing through what they're doing now.
Yeah, and looking at the Yankees division this year, I mean, I don't think they're going to get much trouble from. I mean, the Red Sox are, they've traded everyone away. They're rebuilding. Tampa Bay traded away the ace of their staff. I mean, I expect them to be good. They're always tough, but I don't really see anyone other than the Blue Jays that might give the Yankees any problems. I mean, as long as the Yankees stay healthy, I mean, they should win their division relatively easy.
Yeah, the Rays always have a knack of, putting out outstanding teams. The Jays, I think they're still a year or two away. I mean, they can surprise people this year and, win 90 games. But, they're an up-and-coming team. They're going to be some trouble in the future. But, the Yankees, we sometimes I get down on them, but really they're going to win 95, 100 games at least. So, I think they're predicting the Yankees to win something like 96 games this year, and the team closest to them in the division is Tampa with 85. They're predicting to win. So even Vegas thinks the Yankees should win this division by double digits. Yeah, like I really don't follow the other teams anymore, Robert. I'm not as well informed as I used to be. Yeah,
I mean, either am I. I mean, I know Boston. It's like I guess they're trying to rebuild, and I don't know why Tampa got rid of their ace, but they did, and it seems like everyone wants to rebuild through the draft now and get cheaper. Well,
the Rays take Blake Snell out of the sixth game of the World Series when he was pitching great.
Yeah.
And then they trade him in the offseason. I don't know. I think it's going to come. Starters nowadays are going to pitch 5-6 innings, throw 80, 90 pitches, and then you just have the bullpen coming in because I don't think you're going to have the guys who win 18, 20 games. You haven't had them in a long time, but now it's like if you win 12, 14 games, that's going to be a lot, and you don't have to pay them.
It's crazy because, I mean, one of my favorite memories is David Cohn in the playoffs, and Torrey, I think it was the sixth inning, and Torrey was going to come out and pull him, and David, basically begged him to stay in the game, and he let him finish out the inning, and David was able to get out of the inning, and they asked David Cohn after the game, what did you say to Joe Torrey to let him keep you in the game? And he's like, I lied to him, and it's moments like that you're probably never going to see again. Where a player steps up even though he's got nothing left in the tank. I mean, nowadays they look at the numbers, and if you hit a certain amount of pitches, they come out and get you, unless you're someone like a Garrett Cole.
Well, I mean, you don't see, even they don't go to the mound and talk to the pitchers, how do you feel, and talk to the catcher. Now, I mean, they make the signal, 5-6 steps out of the dugout, even before they cross the line, the first base line. So that's the way it is now. It's analytics is the thing.
Yeah, and AJ Hinch, who's the manager of the Tigers this season, he was saying how analytics has hurt part of the game where with the base runners, the hit and run, stealing. And he was saying how he wants to be more of a team that puts pressure on the defense by hitting and running and stealing bases. He feels analytics has taken away from that. And you even saw that a little bit against the Yankees where they get on base and they're stealing and hitting and running. But I think they stole like three bases against the Yankees that first game on Sunday, or it might have been Monday. I forget which day it was.
Yeah, Monday,
yeah. But you saw them running, stealing bases. So that's nice to see that at least one manager's thinking about putting pressure on the defense.
Yeah, the taggers, that's what they're going to have to do to produce runs and stuff. So they might be a exciting team to watch. I don't know how many games they'll win, but they might, they're going to have to do it a different way. They're just not going to be able to hit home runs.
Yeah. It's crazy how different the game just feels watching it nowadays. I mean, from growing up.
Well, I mean, even going in the stands, I mean, for the spring training game, there's no buzz. You know, it's like you're just going to a game. It's like a well-attended Tampa Yankee game on a Sunday afternoon. I mean, that's what it is, with all the pandemic stuff going on. And, you maybe have 1,200 fans in the stadium, if even that, 1,500. So, I mean, it's nice that you can go, but it's just not the same. And, when you've been going 17 years, the old ushers who are always nice to me and let me into the game for free a lot of times. And, the people who work behind the counter and the gift shop, one of them, passed away over the winter. And it's just like, it's not only the game, it's the people around it. And that's a shame, because that's what happens. I'm sorry, Robert. That's what even happens with the minor leagues. I mean, these small towns, they don't have that anymore. And it's baseball still itself. Yeah.
And then some big news yesterday that happened out of nowhere. It seemed like it was Aaron Boone had a pacemaker put in yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, that just came out of nowhere. I mean, is that a big procedure? I think anything with the heart is kind of serious. I mean, I heard Cashman talk, and it's like they made it sound like not a big deal, but I think, if you're having trouble with your heart, it might cause some concern.
Apparently he had he experienced a lot of dizziness, weakness, and shortness of breath the past 6 to 8 weeks. And he went and had a checkup, and his heart rate was low, and they said they needed to put in a pacemaker. Apparently he had open heart surgery back in 2009, which I wasn't aware of. And he had, I think, aorta valve replacement or something like that. But I guess the pacemaker procedures is like a 45-minute procedure where they make a small incision on your left shoulder, and they're able to apply a pacemaker, which is, I guess, the size of a half dollar coin. And it's real small, so that it's not an invasive procedure. It's just a little incision on your left shoulder, and they place it on your heart. I guess the only thing he has to do is, I guess, get yearly checkups to make sure the battery is working well and all that stuff. But he'll have a device that will monitor his pacemaker, and if anything's wrong, it alerts him. But he's only 47 years old, and it was kind of just came out of nowhere yesterday.
Yeah, and I mean, when I heard he had, the surgery like 2009, I mean, he's a young man, and you look at him, he's still in excellent shape.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think, it's not like you have Stump Merrill, who's looked the same for 45 years, but, Aaron Boone looks good, and you would never think, he had, health issues.
Yeah, and, apparently he'll be back within a week, so, I mean, that's good. I mean, the surgery was successful. Nothing went wrong, which is good, so they say he should be back within a week and resume normal activities.
Well, we'll see. You know how the Yankees are when
they don't really tell you everything. It's like when
Aaron Hicks got hurt a couple of years ago, and it was going to be day to day, and they missed him to come back for 4 months.
Remember that? It kept dragging out, and I mean, I think the same thing happened with Judge too, where I think it was supposed to just be day to day, and it turned out to be weeks and then a month. I mean, the Yankees, when it comes to injuries, they don't tell you everything. So that's why when Stanton wasn't in that first game to start spring training or the second game, people were like, "What's going on with Stanton?" But he played yesterday.
Well, hopefully he'll play a lot this year.
Yeah, The one thing, when he is healthy, when he gets in those home run grooves, man, he can carry a team for 3 or 4 games easy when he's locked in at the plate.
Well, when he's on the field and he's Stanton, he's an outstanding player. I mean, you know.
Yeah, and you know, Aaron Judge. I mean, every time he's at bat, it seems like he's in a 3-2 count. And so if you can have a whole year where, you know, you got those two guys in the lineup together at the same time for the majority of the season, you know, and then it could be something to watch. And if Luke Voigt continues to be the player he's shown the last year or so, you know, the Yankees might have something in him.
Well, that was a great pickup from the Cardinals. I mean, that guy, Voigt, he looks great. I mean, he's in outstanding shape, and
yeah.
That was a great pickup by Cashman. I mean, he's done a lot of them over the years. He gets a lot of criticism for what he doesn't do, but what he has done is, you know, help keep that team winning since 1993. They haven't had a losing season. So
yeah, and he had a great mentor in Gene Michael too. Yeah,
the stick is still missed. I mean, he's come down here in spring training, and I remember him as a player, you know, with a hidden ball trick and the 3 homers and 5 pitches, Mercer, Munson, and Michael from 69. It's like, and the stick was just, you know, incredible baseball person. I remember the last spring down here, you know, I got a chance to talk to him a couple times, and you looked at him, he looked in great shape, and then like 4 or 5 months he had a heart attack and passed away.
Yeah, because, I mean, a lot of people don't remember, I mean, when Steinbrenner got suspended, it was Gene Michael who, you know, really was probably responsible for that 90s team, at least with the core 4, scouting them and drafting them.
Yeah, like in the 80s, George was going insane. And and he wanted to trade everybody. And I think Stick Michael, just, you know, who knew baseball inside and out, you know, tried to calm George down a little. And, you know, when George got suspended, and Buck Showalter did a great job too.
Yeah.
But, you know, they didn't wind up trading Mo, and, you know, they did Pettit and stuff. And, you know, another thing, Robert, when they lost those 4 games to the Red Sox, George made a blunder. You know, he should have never let Andy Pettit go to the Astros.
No, yeah. Yeah. But I remember those early 90 years, because the 80s, the Yankees, I mean, even though they scored the most runs of any team that decade, their pitching killed them. And I remember those years just being brutal, especially in the late 80s and in the early 90s. I remember when we got like Wade Boggs and Jimmy Key. Jimmy Key was a big pickup, helped turn the ship a little bit, and then put together a good team that made the wild card in 95. And you could feel everything changing.
Yeah, you know, getting Paul O'Neill for Roberto Kelly. Kelly was a big player.
Yeah, I was really high on Roberto Kelly. I remember him and Gerald Williams were battling it out for the center field spot, and Roberto Kelly won that. And when they traded him, I'm like, they traded him for Paul O'Neill? And I was shocked. And it was probably one of the best moves, because I'm a huge Paul O'Neill fan now because of it. Yeah,
that was a big move, and it was, you know, like you were saying, Jimmy Key, he solidified the pitching staff, and you know, that they still had Mattingly, and
Wade
you know,
Boggs.
when they got Wade Boggs was Wade Boggs could still hit when he got to the Yankees. I mean, from the hated Red Sox, he comes to the Yankees in '96 and they win the World Series.
I remember going to that first playoff game in '95, and I went to the entrance where the players walked in, and the Yankees showed up first, and you know, I was thrilled to see him, but I couldn't believe it. You know, like Don Mattingly, I'm like, oh my God, I'm taller than Don Mattingly. But then the Seattle Mariners bus pulled up after the Yankees, and those guys were huge compared to the Yankees. I was like, holy shit. I was like, I don't know about this series, you know, and the Yankees, you know, they gave them a run, you know, that last game.
Yeah, we were talking about David Cone before. I think he threw about 150, 160 pitches. and that.
Yeah. I remember that bottom of the sixth, Bernie got on, I think it was a double, and Mattingly drove him in with a single, an RBI single to put the Yankees ahead in game one. And the stadium went nuts because it was Don Mattingly's first postseason hit, and it was a go-ahead RBI single.
Yeah, Sierra had the big homer, Ruben Sierra.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I never seen the stadium like that. It was crazy. Over 55,000 people going crazy. And even in that last game, Donnie, he had I think it was the game-tying hit or a hit to put him ahead, and they wound up losing it at the end. I was crushed.
Yeah, he had that big hit, and I remember Mike Stanley. He hit like 5 or 6 grand slams that year, and he got up with the bases loaded, and they threw a meatball down and he fouled it back, and that was a rough one, Robert. I mean, Edgar Martinez. I don't think anybody got Edgar out at that point.
Oh God,
he was hitting everything.
Yeah, I mean, he was an unbelievable hitter. I mean, people consider David Ortiz the greatest DH of all time, but I mean, Edgar Martinez, I don't know. He was a hell of a hitter. I mean, he really was.
Yeah, he used the whole field, and that series, he was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, that team with Ken Griffey Jr., Jay Buhner, Edgar Martinez, I mean, and then later on, in I think, 95, 96, they got Alex Rodriguez straight out of high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they could have paid those players, they would have had I believe, a dynasty, because they were just loaded.
Yeah, I mean, the Yankees set the record for most regular season wins. I think, what was it, 112 or 114, and Mariners beat that the next year. And the team, and then all of a sudden Griffey's gone, now A-Rod's gone. It's like the team just imploded. They just got rid of everybody. They got the new stadium, and that was it. Everyone was gone.
Yeah. Oh, Rob, let me tell a story. I think this is pretty interesting.
Okay.
50 years ago, I believe Bill White became the first black announcer. I could be wrong, but he was one of the first. And the Yankees were down in Fort Lauderdale where they used to train, and they had Phil Rizzuto and Whitey Ford in the booth. And the scooter was supposed to introduce Bill White. And the scooter was out of the booth. So Whitey Ford introduced Bill White. And Bill White's first words out of his mouth, the first black announcer, was, "Thanks, Whitey."
Holy shit.
And Bill White was just a terrific announcer, as well as being a great player and the president of the National League. And, Bill White was something special, too.
Yeah. Oh, man. There's been a lot of things that went wrong in the Yankees booth. I mean, Phil Rizzuto was right there in the middle of it all, too.
Yeah, it's just a shame, we all get old, but it's just a shame, Phil wasn't announcing from like 96 to 2001, because he would have loved that.
Oh, yeah. And I watched a documentary or biography on Elston Howard. And, I mean, what an incredible guy. I mean, I didn't know he spent some time in the Yankees booth. I think his first season in the booth, I think, is when his heart started to give out on him.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think he passed away when he's 51.
Yeah.
And I mean, he didn't get to be the Yankees' regular catcher till he was like 31 years old because of Yogi. But there was even talk of him being the first manager.
Yeah, and he really wanted that too. And they went with I forget his name now. So they went with some guy who, that's him. His only Yankee experience was being a minor leaguer, and everyone, like Bobby Mercer said, they would have loved to have had Elston as their manager. There would have been a player that would have, wouldn't have loved to have him. But the Yankees went with that guy instead.
Yeah, Bill Verdon, he was with the Pirates. He was an outstanding outfielder, good hitter, an ex-Yankee minor leaguer. But it would have been nice to see Elston, as the manager. And I think Frank Robinson was, the first black manager with the Indians.
Yeah. And I remember he did, when the Yankees, they traded him to Boston, he really didn't want to go, but his wife, gave him a little nudge. And I forget who the manager of the Red Sox was at the time, but he told his pitching staff, if any of you shake off Elston Howard, you're going to be fined.
Dick Williams.
I mean, huh?
Dick Williams was the manager.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Yep. He told his pitching staff, if any of you shake off Elston Howard, you're fined. That's how much people around the league respected him. Yeah,
another somebody else gone too soon.
Yeah, I mean, he was I think he was a manager. He was a coach on the staff when he started having problems with his heart, and the Yankees wanted to keep him in the organization. I think he spent some time in the booth and in the front office before his heart just gave out on him.
Yeah, I mean, I had the pleasure of seeing him live a few times, and Elston was a great Yankee. And if if he could have played for any other team full time, he probably would have been a Hall of Famer. Yeah, and I didn't know he played with the Kansas City Monarchs in the Negro Leagues with Ernie Banks. I didn't know he was a teammate of Ernie Banks with the Kansas City Monarchs before he went to the majors. I think he tried out for the Cardinals when he was like 18, and they passed on him, and then the Yankees took him, signed him. Yeah, back then there was still a lot of racism. They didn't want to sign black players, and I mean, the Red Sox could have had Willie Mays and Roberto Clemente, and most of the major league teams could have had those guys, but because of racism, they didn't. They didn't sign them. And I think Elston Howard, he was an outfielder and first baseman, and when the Yankees took him, they had people in the outfield, so they gave him a catcher's mitt and told him to get used to it, and I think he was the Yankees' first African American player. Yeah, I mean, catching is not an easy position to learn. No. They gave him a catcher's mitt and told him to get used to it, and it just shows you how talented he was. He became a hell of a catcher. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Same time next week, Jack. Maybe we'll have more news to talk about, more games, more highlights. Yeah, hopefully, Robert, I'll find out who's playing. I just ramble on about nothing because it's hard to do anything because you can't watch it, and you can't really see what's going on. I mean, I go to a couple games, but hopefully I can give a little more info next time. Yeah, right now the Yankees are taking on the Phillies. They're heading to, I guess, the bottom of the first. And Phillies coming to bat. Score 0-0. I know Deivi Garcia started for the Yankees today. That's a beautiful ballpark in Clearwater. Really? Yeah, where the Phillies are. It's great. You hang out on the berm, and back when you can afford to go. Yeah, it'd be nice if they televised it. I would love to watch it. I'm off today. But next Thursday, Jack? Yep. Sounds good, Robert. Okay, to all your listeners out there, we'll catch you next week.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.